Hi, we're going to do threading a sewing machine today, which I know is a little daunting for a lot of people, but hopefully this will make it easy so you guys can get started on using your sewing machine, which will become a handy tool in sewing a lot of your projects. So first thing you need is your thread. Your machine will do the top part first, and the second part will take care of the bobbin, which is on the bottom of the machine. So when you're putting in your spool of thread, it's different for machines in the sake that it might be on the back of the machine, it might be on top, it might be on the side back here. On mine, it's in the front. Just need to locate where the spool pin is, and you're going to put it on there. If yours happens to be on the top, it's going to go in the spool pin right on the top. So stick it in there. If it's horizontal like mine is, it usually comes with a little disc that you're going to slip on, so that way it stays secure and it's not moving around on the pin. So you're going to pull your thread out. Now if it's on top, there'll usually be a little hook back here in the back, and you're going to slip it on that, and it's usually what's going to happen is it's going to go in the back and then it's going to go in the front, and it's a series of going up and down. If you have one of the newer machines, probably made within the last 10 years, you're going to notice, if you look very closely, that there's going to be arrows. This is directing you to where you're going to be threading the machine. So the first thing we have to do when threading our machine, we have to make sure that our needle is up. Over on the right side, you'll have a large knob, which is called the balancing wheel, and you always turn it towards you. When you do, you'll see that the needle will go up and down. So you turn it until it's up in the upright position. So you'll notice also you have your presser foot, and the presser foot also needs to be in a raised position for threading the machine. There is a lever right back here on the back of the machine. You'd raise that up and the foot comes up. Push it down and it comes down, and be sure to do it gently and not to just slam it. Above the needle, there is a small horizontal hook right here. And we're going to come back to this later when we're threading the machine, because the thread does pass behind this hook before going through the eye, which is right down here at the very bottom of the needle. So now we're going to begin threading the machine. Now we're going to thread the machine. So if you have a horizontal spool pin like I do, you're going to get this plastic disc that comes with the machine and slip it onto the pin to make sure that the spool stays secure. If your pin is on top and it goes up and down, you really don't have to worry about that. So we're going to follow the arrows. There's a hook here, so the arrow shows going up, then around the second hook, down into this little trough here, and it kind of goes behind this wheel. There's a wheel right here, so your thread is going to slip behind here. We're following the arrows, and we're going to go up on the right side of this tension hook, and if you slip it behind it, it's naturally going to get caught into a little loop that's right on the end here, and goes down the left side. We're going to go back down through this gap, and then we're going to slip it underneath and this horizontal hook that we were talking about earlier. If you just slip it on the left hand side, it'll naturally slip right into the middle there, and then you put it through the eye of the needle down here at the bottom, slip it through the gap that's in the middle of your presser foot here, and then the thread comes out from underneath the machine. So now we're going to do that with the real thread. Now we're going to do it with the real thread. So I'm going to go up through the first hook, down through the second hook, behind this tension wheel right here, up through this gap. And sometimes if you can't see the tension hook right away, all you do is just pull the side knob towards you and it'll pop up like that. So you're going to go on the right side, come down to the left, it instantly slips down into the middle of the hook. We're going back down through the gap, the left hand side of this horizontal hook on top of the needle, and it slips right in. And you're going to always want to start with a clean cut end of your thread, so then it makes it a little bit easier to slip it through the eye here. Let me clip mine because mine's a little frayed. it goes. Pull it through. You're gonna wanna go through the gap that's at the bottom of your foot there. And then you pull your tail underneath your foot. And if you pull it and it comes pretty easily, then you've done it right. If it's really hard or it feels like it's getting caught on something, then you threaded it wrong. So that's an indicator on how to do that. If you want to try it again and you just want to pull all of your threading out, all you do, pull your spool off and you just pull it through. So now it looks like we're ready to start sewing, but actually what you need is a bobbin, which is filled with the same color thread. It's your top part, which this now goes at the bottom of your machine. So when we're stitching along, the bottom part catches the top part, which forms the individual stitches. So in order to fill this now with the same color, we need to pull this thread through because we don't need it threaded like this. And now we're gonna put this on the bobbin pin and start filling it up. So basically all I'm gonna do is just wrap my thread around this hook here and bring it over to my bobbin pin, which is right here. Slip the bobbin on there. Sometimes for machines, this is actually located right on the right-hand side on top, and there'll be a little silver notch over here which you'll wrap the thread around before going around the bobbin. So you're going to go around the top of the bobbin, wrap around a few times, cut off the end there because we don't want a long string, and I'm going to push it down. Once I push it down, that tells the machine that it's just spinning this and not spinning everything else in the machine. The same thing with the one that's on top of here, you're just going to move it forward. So I push down the foot pedal and it's going to start wrapping it around, and I'm just going to kind of use my finger to guide it so it wraps on evenly to the bobbin and doesn't just wrap all over on the right hand side or the left hand side, because you want it to be very even. So you just wrap it a little bit till you have enough thread to use for your project, and then if you run out halfway through, you can always refill it again. But that's how you thread a bobbin. Just lift it up, pop it off, cut your thread, and now you're ready to put it down on the bottom. Alright, so for my machine, I have a drop-in bobbin here on top. For a lot of machines, it's located on the front here and you just kind of pull the door down. So mine is a drop-in bobbin, and for my machine I have a logo on one side of my bobbin and that's always on top. And if you do it the other way, it won't fit, so that's how you know that you've put it in the right way. Like you have on the top of the machine, there are arrows here that point to you the direction in which you're going to pull your thread so that it's going the right way. So you're going to be going around this little silver wall here and up and around this little gray little knob that's sticking out here and back down here. Now there's another arrow that says, you know, you're supposed to put it right here, but it's actually, for my machine, it's a thread cutter, and I think it's kind of a little short for me when I'm trying to pull it through. So I'm just going to go ahead now, pull it around the silver wall that's down there around the casing of the bobbin. Go up past this gray little knob there, and I'm just going to pull it down. Now when you pull, you're going to want to hold on to this thread that you had already threaded through the needle here. You're going to want to hold on to that because you don't want it to get, if you let go and you start using the machine, it's going to get sucked back in. So you're going to make sure to hold this down. Pull your wheel towards you. The needle will go down into the bottom of the machine, and when it comes back up, it pulls the bobbin thread through like magic. And you're just going to pull that through. Sometimes I have to use a pin to grab it because it's really tight down there. You just pull it all the way through, and now you have your top thread and your bobbin thread right underneath your foot. And I'm just going to put my case your back on to my bobbin, and you're just going to slam yours shut if it's right here in the front, and now you're ready to start sewing. If you have a machine in which the spool of the thread starts off back here, you're usually going to see a hook of some kind right towards midway of the machine towards the back. So you're going to go from the spool of thread, bring your thread around this hook, and then you're going to bring it to the front part and do the rest of the threading like I've shown you on my machine. So that's usually the only difference in using one that's on top or on the back or something like that. So just keep that in mind. Here I have a different machine that I'm going to show you how to thread. This has a little bit of a different setup than the previous ones. But like the last one, you're going to see that it also has arrows to follow for the path that your thread is going to take in threading the machine. So we're first going to take a look at the top of the machine where the thread starts. We're looking at the top of the machine now, and the thing we want to focus on are these arrows up here. There's one here and one here. These arrows give us the direction to correctly thread our machine. So we're going to originate here because this is where our first arrow is, and then we're going to take our thread and go this direction, and then we have another arrow going this way, so we're going to then go down this little gap here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my little spool holder here, put on my thread. So I'm going to take my thread and I'm going to follow these arrows in this direction, and then I'm going to do a 90-degree turn and turn my thread this direction. And this little silver bar right here, it actually has an opening at the bottom at this far end, so the thread slips through and is now caught in this corner here. I'm now going to go down this gap, take my thread so it goes all the way in there. At the very bottom you see an arrow that's a U-turn, so the thread is now going to go around and go up this other gap. I have another little silver hooky thing right here. If you don't see anything and you're having trouble getting it through, it's usually because it's stuck inside the machine. So just pull your knob towards you and it'll eventually pop up just like that. So I go up the right hand side, around the back, and then up the left hand side. There's a hole right in the end right here. So the thread gets caught in that hole, and now we're going back down through our gap into the hook that's above the needle, and then the last part, threading your machine on top, is to go through the eye of the needle. So then after this step, I'm going to show you how to thread the bottom portion, which of course involves the bobbin. We're going to show you a closer look at doing this last portion of the top threading. So I've just brought my thread down through that last gap, and there's this little hook that's kind of horizontally that's right above the needle. There's an opening in the back of the hook, so you're going to bring your thread behind and it pulls forward, and then you're going to take your thread, you're going to come from in front of the needle, there's a hole that goes through, and you're going to put your thread through the eye of the needle from front to back. Then the thread is going to come down, go through the gap that's in the foot into the little opening area behind the little slit. So now the thread is underneath my foot, and just pull it off to the left. The next part is threading the bottom with the bobbin. So you're going to take off this compartment, and underneath your plate here there should be a door. Sometimes it's on the side, sometimes it's in the front. There's a little silver bobbin case, and it has this little flap that helps you pull it out. This is what your bobbin fits into. So we're going to show you a close-up of how to put your bobbin inside the bobbin case. Here's another shot of, this is the bobbin casing. This is the bobbin. So this fits into here. So you're gonna make sure that you have a little bit of a tail thread coming out from the bobbin. You pop it into the bobbin casing. Once it's there, you're gonna take the thread, this loose tail area here, and there's this slit that's on one side of the bobbin casing. So you're gonna stick your thread through the slit. There's another extra silver plate here that's on top of the casing. You're going to take your thread from the slit and you're going to run it along this extra top plating here, and you're going to come along here, and then it's going to pop right into this area right here, this open space in your bobbin. So you're going to have your bobbin thread hanging out now through this hole, and then it's ready to be put into the machine. So now I'm going to show you how to do that with the actual bobbin. So I'm going to take it, put it into the casing, find the slit right here. So I'm going to put it in the slit, go along the edge of the plate, and now it's popped in to this gap right here in the bobbin casing. So now I'm going to put this part into the machine. We're now going to put the bobbin case with the bobbin thread back into the bottom of the machine. So here's my bobbin case with my bobbin. The open area where you can see your bobbin, this goes in first. So you're going to hold onto your bobbin case, and there's this little arm that sticks up. You're going to want to place this arm into this notch that's right at the top of where the bobbin goes in. And what you're going to do is you're going to push it in there, make sure it's lined up, and then you just snap it in. You need to take it out. There's this little lever, and it just slides right out. And then to put it back in, you match up the notches, and you pop it in. So then you're going to hold your top thread, which you've done already, and you're going to move your knob that's on the side of the machine towards you so the needle goes down into the bottom of the machine. And what it's doing is going to grab that bobbin thread now and pull it up through the top of the machine. So now I have both my threads. Here's my brown one and here's my cream one. So once I have both of them, then I'm done threading the machine. So I can go ahead and close this up, put my arm extension back on, and now I'm ready to start sewing. I'm now going to show you how to thread your bobbin using a different machine than the example I previously showed you. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to put your thread into the spool holder at the top of your machine, and then you're going to see a silver screw looking knob is sort of in the middle of the machine, and you're going to wrap it around it once clockwise and then come back towards where your spool of thread is. So it comes this way, wraps around, and then comes this way again. You're going to take your bobbin, you're going to wrap it around it a couple of times clockwise, and then usually these bobbins that have holes in it, you want to take your thread and put it through the hole, and then you're going to stick it onto a bobbin holder, which is, it kind of looks like a spool holder, but it's not as tall. It's like half the height. And you're going to push it all the way on. Then you're going to take your spool holder and you're going to move it to the right. See how that clicks? You have this option, and then you can move it to the right and it'll click over to this option. When it's clicked over to the right, that means that this is going to spin, therefore winding your bobbin. If you turn it over here, it's not going to spin. So that's why you need to move it over. So I'm just going to hold my thread. You have to turn on your machine in order to wind your bobbin. And just to warn you, this machine is a little loud. And you're going to push down on your foot pedal. And see, it's a winding thread right onto the bobbin. So I'm just going to push down the foot pedal until I feel like I have a sufficient amount of thread on the bobbin in order to start my project.